Well, I think that we're live. Let's just make sure. So I'm going to go to my little YouTube channel here um, and see where we are because I need to make sure that we're actually live. Yes. Okay. Let's go here. So if you're with me I think we are. Are you live? Hooray! Okay. I don't want to do a ton of these, intro type things because I really kind of just want to get to it. So then, whoever's watching it, thank you for joining me live. It's been a long time since I have streamed myself to YouTube. I've done some like other things, obviously, but it's been a while since I have streamed to YouTube. So I'm excited to be able to do this. I got a question yesterday in my money and mindset group, and it was about motivation. Like, how do you stay motivated? Because it's January 30th at the time of this recording. I don't know where everyone is when they're watching this. Some people may very well be watching the replay, but if you are watching it now with us live, so hello, if you're joining us on the live stream, we're already at the end of the month. January went by so fast. Even fast for me, and so fast that I actually wasn't able to do everything that I wanted to do in the month of January. And there's a lot of reasons why: sick, personal things that kind of happen throughout the month. But it's very easy when things don't go your way to kind of fall off the wagon, right? To get to a place where you're like, nothing is working, never mind, I'm throwing it all out of the window. And what I'm saying is don't do that. Like, if you are a person who had laid out all of your goals, you know exactly what you want to accomplish in 2024. Don't let a few weeks, because it really has only been a few short weeks, don't let a few weeks of things not going your way be the reason why you don't follow through for the rest of the year. So that's the first thing that I want to say. The second thing, hold on, let me look at the comments. Hi, AJ. The second thing that I want to say is, you know, this is the time to really double down on what you set out to do, because the majority of the people won't. And if you got my email today, I was like, 90% of people will give up on their goals. 90% of people will give up on everything that they wanted to do because things aren't working. And I'm like, no. This is the time to double down on what you said in the beginning. Even if things weren't working properly, even if there were things that some mishaps that didn't that you didn't plan for, that is okay. And so I'm going to give you these 7 questions today that are going to help you to navigate through the rest of the year. You need to have the answer to these 7 questions. Having the answer to these 7 questions is really going to help set you up for success, because like I said, when somebody asked this question yesterday and I was talking about it inside of the money mindset group, I got off of that call and I was like, what does the strategy look like to stay motivated? Because we all know, hi, Dr. Nikki, because we all know that in the context of achieving anything, right? There is consistency, there's dedication, but what gets people to stay consistent and to stay dedicated? So I wrote down these 7 questions that we're going to talk through today that hopefully help you to really narrow this down. And we'll talk about the practicalities of it all and everything else. So if you have questions, type those in the chat and we will certainly answer them as we go along. So the question number 1 is, what is the actual goal? What do you truly want? And many people have said this. We've heard Oprah say this. Lots of personal development people talk about this. A lot of people know what they don't want, but the specificity and the clarity about what you do want is often lost on people. Like, we know, well, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to struggle. I don't want it to be hard. We know what we don't want, but what do you actually want? And saying, like, I want a successful business is not enough. Saying, well, I want my business to make money, not enough. Hi, Renee. We really want to know, what do you want? What are the specifics? What is the number? When do you want to have it by? What does it look like in your everyday life? Because you have to prime yourself to get to a place where the thing that you desire becomes so normal in your consciousness that you have no choice but to reach it. And if you've been in any of my trainings about mindset work or energy stuff and frequency and the law of vibration and law of frequency, we talk about that all the time. But you have to normalize the thing that you want so much that it becomes just a regular part of your everyday. That is actually my favorite part of the quote unquote manifestation concept, or the Bible talks about it as speaking things as though speaking things that are not as though they were. It's the same concept. We can also attach the law of reaping and sowing to the same concept too, because thoughts become things, and your thoughts are seedlings of what will then manifest and what will grow. So you can't plant an apple seed and then expect to have bananas at the end of harvest season. So whatever you're planting right now, in the form of thought, in the form of desire, in the form of goals, in the form of the specifics about what you truly want, those seeds that you're planting will sprout into something, but you have to sort of know what you're planting there. So, what do you actually want? And I would write that down, and I would write it down with as much specifics as possible. Like whatever you can say around the thing that you want. This is how much, this is how many, this is where I want to go. Hi, Dr. A. All of those things, I want you to write all of them down so that you truly, truly know what it is you want. And I also want to say something about the idea of knowing what you want. It does not manifest in a second. Like, right? So this is why I'm like, let's take a look at the entirety of the year. Let's create a plan for the entirety of the year, because most people just really are not patient enough to wait for the seed to sprout and then for the sprout to reap a harvest. But I want you to just get into the mind frame of like, I am planting seeds by actively choosing what I desire out of this life. All right. The second question that I want you to ask yourself is, why do you want it? Because a lot of the times, oops, I'm knocking this table over. A lot of the times we say we want things for all the wrong reasons. We say we want things because we want to prove to somebody that we can. We say that we want things because we're trying to get revenge on somebody. We say that we want things because everybody else has it. And I'm not inherently saying that those things are necessarily wrong, but they're not they're not a strong enough why to really produce what you're trying to produce, right? If I say, "Well, I want it because my neighbor down the street has it. So because they have it, I also want." That's not a strong enough why to like get me out of bed in the morning. You know what I mean? So you have to recognize, like, why do I want this? Do I want this because I feel like it's a part of my calling? I feel like God has called me to this. It is a divine ordination for me to accomplish this or for me to have this. Do I want this because it's a personal goal of mine that I've had since I was a child? Do I want this because I want to make sure that my family is taken care of? Like, you're gonna have to choose a strong enough why that's going to allow for you to consistently be present for the thing that you say that you're wanting. And usually money is not enough. I also have to say that money is generally not enough. Hi, Felicia. Getting a check sent from Grant from early December. Stay patient, y'all. Let me say something to Dr. Amy's point, because Dr. Amy has been consistently working, tilling the soil, for those of you who know her, tilling the soil of her business for many, many years. And she has believed in it so much and has invested so much in it that, I mean, there were times where it did seem like this was not going to work out, but she stayed the course, and she kept, like, her why for staying the course was strong enough to keep doing it, because I think for most people they would have just quit. And last year she did get her I think it was almost $250,000 grant. And now I just saw on TikTok, Dr. A, that you were doing a grant for 1.2 million, because like, money is out there. Like, if you need money, if you need capital, I was actually talking to a client today. If you need money, like, God knows how to get money to you. Oftentimes that's not even the problem. The problem is you, because you are so focused on the wrong thing. When you're focused on the wrong thing, then you're doing the wrong thing. You're not actively showing up in the way that you need to. But God knows how to get money to you. I say this all the time. God knows how to get it to you. We don't need to worry about it. But I understand, because sometimes when we are in those spaces, it can get very dire. So you have to have a why that is strong enough for you to keep going. Third question. So question number one, no, what is the goal? Question number two, why do you want it? Question number three, what's the plan to achieve it? Because writing things down as a New Year's resolution or as a 2024 goal and not having any sort of plan or strategy, even if it's just the first few steps, because quite frankly, you're not going to know how to actually achieve the thing. Like, you're not going to have all the steps, nor are you supposed to, right? You're also not who's in front of my door? I don't know. You're also not supposed, who is that? Oh, it's Amazon. You're not supposed to have all of the steps right away. You are only supposed to know what you need to know right now so that you can continue moving forward. So you have to put some sort of plan in action. If you don't, and this is why most people fail, is because they don't create a plan. So the resolutions that they have or the goals that they have is just a list of wishes. And you're welcome to have a list of wishes, but I don't know about you. I'm a person that's like, my dreams come true. You know that scene in Game of Thrones where Daenerys Targaryen she's in Karth, I think, and she's in Karth, and she's talking to one of the lords of Karth, and she goes, "I'm not a normal girl. My dreams come true." And when I tell you that, that resonates, that hits a chord. I am not a normal girl. My dreams come true. And that's how I want you to think about yourself. You are not a normal girl. You're not a normal man. You're not a normal anything. Your dreams come true. But dreams don't come true when you're just locking yourself in a closet and living in the dark all day. Like dreams come true when you are showing up for them. And showing up for them is not having all of the strategy. This is a common problem for many people is they feel like they can't take that first step until they know all the steps. And it's like that doesn't work because you're not even in a position to know all of the steps because you wouldn't recognize it as being a step if you didn't take the steps that you had to take before you got there. You know what I mean? So you can't get to I know all 117 of the steps until you're really and truly willing to take step 1, maybe even step 1 and 2. You if God is gracious enough to give you multiple steps in advance, then hallelujah, but generally speaking, no. Like usually he's not giving you more than like 1 or 2 steps that you have to take, right? So recognize that part and know that there is a strategy to accomplishing any goal. If you look at any successful person in the world, I guarantee you they can reverse engineer their success based on the strategy or the steps that it took to get them there. Like they didn't just wake up one morning and say, "This is what I want," and then magically it showed up on their doorstep. It was, "This is what I want, and I'm going to have a series of things that have to take place before I get it." And there's some turns and hills and valleys all along the way because success is not linear. Like our path to success isn't linear. Our understanding of what it truly does take is also not linear. So we have to be available for some of the detours that come because we have to learn some things. We have to be available for the time that we have to invest in learning other things. You know what I mean? So you have to be willing to show up, but being willing to show up also recognizes that sometimes you're going to have hoops and hurdles that you're going to have to walk through, but you're not going to have all the steps in advance. But you do have to have a plan. Like your plan might be, I'm going to attend a conference. Your plan might be, I'm going to read this book and I'm going to execute. Your plan might be, I'm going to hire a life coach. Your plan might be, I'm going to hire a personal trainer. Your plan might be, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. Like I'm going to buy a camera. Like the plan is something. So you have to, what is step 1 to the plan? And can you execute on step 1 to that plan? I'm so glad I've been delivered from wanting to know all the steps. Amen to that. I submitted for a grant and just heard back. First round of interviews. Praise the Lord, Dr. Nikki. We love it. My faith and mindset has definitely been challenged, and I trust God. Trust is a hard thing. Like, I'm not even going to lie. Trust is a monster. Like when you are believing for a particular thing and you're not seeing it and you're still not seeing it, and every day you're not seeing it, like trust is a hard thing. But this is why the Bible talks so much about living in the expectancy of God showing up, because expecting it means that you have confidence that it is going to happen. Oftentimes, and be honest with yourself, be honest in the chat. This is a safe space for all of us. We are not confident in God's promises. I can 100% say for myself, I am not always confident in God's promises. Now, my discipline and my commitment to my faith allows for me to continue to show up. But if I was to really pull back the layers, I'm not always confident. But that doesn't mean that I still don't show up, right? So you have to recognize whatever season you're in and then where the trust starts to break. Have you guys watched that show on Netflix called The Trust? I started watching it and I was like, let me just watch episode 1 because this is probably ridiculous. And then I got sucked in and I watched like every single episode. But it's a fascinating sort of mini series on human behavior and trust. Like we don't trust ourselves because there were people on there that did not trust themselves. They're like, I don't trust myself to make this decision. And they were really battling, like they were having an internal battle of integrity around some of the choices that they had to make. And then there were other people who were like, well, I don't trust that person over there because that person did this, or I don't like the way that she looked, or I don't like her background, or I don't like that he has money. Like they were not trusting a whole bunch of other people. And I thought to myself as I was watching it, this is why it's so difficult for us to trust God, like really and truly, because we don't trust ourselves and we don't trust the people around us. And so we place that same lack of trust on God. But really and truly, God has never actually failed in a promise. Like he's never failed in a promise. He's never not shown up in a promise. He's not known to be a liar. But because we know other people, we're surrounded by people in our regular lives who we do not trust. And oftentimes we don't trust ourselves. We personify God as a human being and we attach or label that lack of trust onto him. And one, that's unfair. Like that is an unfair thing to do for somebody who has consistently shown up for you. Like this, at least this is the conversation that I have with myself when I'm struggling with trust issues. Um, I will say, like, God, I know this is not fair. Like, I know this is not fair that I am doing this to you because you've done nothing wrong. Like, you haven't done anything to me for me to believe this, but this is where I am, and I know that you will meet me here. But I'm having a crisis of faith, or I'm having a struggle with my faith in this. But I'm still trying to live with expectation because that's what we're called to do as God's children. We're called to live in the expectation of what He can do. So anyway, that was a tangent. The question really was, what is the plan? Like, what is the plan of attack when it comes to the goals that you have? Question number 4 is, who is supporting you along the way? Because I can 100% say that you cannot get to where you're wanting to go by yourself. It is impossible. Like, nobody, no successful person has done it by themselves on their own. I don't care what discipline, I don't care what industry, I don't care how long it took. No one has done it by themselves. I don't care if it's Beyonce or LeBron James. I don't care if it's, Tony Robbins. No one has done it by themselves. So you have to figure out who is the dream team. What is the dream team that you are going to put in place to support your mission? Whatever you've been called to do in 2024, the divine calling that is going to require more people than just you. So that might mean an assistant. That might mean an accountability partner. That might mean a therapist. That might mean a coach. That might mean you need to get your family on board. Maybe you got to hire your husband, hire your wife, hire your children. That might mean, maybe you are a part of a mastermind. There is a support team. Do you need an accountant? Do you need a photographer? Do you need a videographer? Do you need a video editor? Do you need a social media manager? Like, what is it that you need in order to execute on the plan? And you may not be in a position to hire everybody today, right? Like, you might not be in a place where you're like, okay, and I can hire a personal trainer and a housekeeper and a virtual assistant and a business coach and a life coach, and I can hire, you may not be in a position to hire everybody. But I just think that it would be so beneficial if you listed out who the dream team was, so that you can sort of check off all the, like, who do you actually need first? What is first on the, like, who's first on the roster? For me, first on the roster, if I go way, way back to when I started, first on the roster, because my mom wasn't here, that was a housekeeper. I was like, I need somebody to come clean this house and do my laundry because we all know I hate doing domestic things. Now I've got a little bit better because I'm less busy now, and I also have my mom here, so she's helpful. But like, who was first? So the first thing, it was that, and then the second was a virtual assistant, because having that kind of support allows for me to step off on things that are more administrative that I don't really want to participate in. So that was the other thing, and then it was hiring a coach. So those were like the 3 things for me that manifested themselves there. And then of course accounting, bookkeeper, somebody to manage like client relations, like billing, like that's something as well. So there are many different moving parts to what my business does now. I also wanted to make sure that whoever I hired, I didn't have to manage, like, because that's another thing that I don't. When it comes to the first question, or the second question, or the first question, what do I want? I do not want a team that I have to manage every day. Like, I don't want to have to tell you what to do, or, you know what I mean? So generally, the people that I have who are a part of the team, I'm not talking to them every single day. Like, they're doing what they're supposed to do and life is great. And right, like, there's no part of my personal plan for my personal business that says I would love to have a big team. Like, cuz I don't want that. Like, that is the last thing that I truly want. And that's right, Amy. Making a list is free. Amen to that. Making the list is free. Just like dreaming is free. Making the list is free. So you might as well put everybody on there that you're wanting. Like, do you want somebody to follow you around, Gary Vaynerchuk style? So they're just following you around in your life, capture doing, because that sounds fun to you, because you want to have vlogs. Get busy. Like, do you want a masseuse to come to your house twice a week so that they can you just hold a lot of tension in your shoulders, and you're going to need somebody to help you relieve that tension? I love that. Right? So make the dream team and then allow yourself to dream, like, and to grow into what that team looks like for you. All right. I think I'm on number 5. As you think through the goals that you have, right? I want you to ask yourself, like, look at the list and say, okay, these are the things that need to happen. Here's the strategy. What parts of those are things that you personally need to learn? And what parts of those are people that you need to hire? So, for example, you all know that you need to make more content. I don't care who is on this live stream, who is watching us live here. Every single one of you knows that you need to make more content. There's not one of us, myself included, there's not one of us on here that says that we are making all the content that we probably should be making. We all need to make more content. Having said that, if you are not a person who has made content before, then you probably need to learn that as a skill, because nobody can be you on a camera, right? Like, nobody can like, I can't AI my face yet. To do these videos for me and then insert my consciousness into that AI so that it can make these videos for me, right? Like, I have to be present for this. Now, what I don't have to necessarily do is I don't necessarily have to edit. I don't necessarily have to be the one that puts the captions on. I might not even have to be the one that uploads it. Now, I'm doing this as a YouTube live because I'm just simplifying the process, meaning that as soon as this is done, it's going to process and it's going to be on my YouTube channel 24 hours from now as a full video. So no editing required. Having said that, there are other videos that I create that do require editing. Now, I was a former YouTuber. I don't want to say former. I've been on a very long sabbatical when it comes to my YouTube channel. So I am very familiar with editing, uploading, thumbnails, all of the things that are required to run a successful channel. I'm very familiar with it. So that's not a skill that I need to learn. However, I have to look at myself and say, do I have the time to execute this? If I don't, then that's somebody that I need to hire. So you need to look at the dream team, look at the list of things that are on your to-do list, and then recognize, okay, is this a skill that I need to learn? Do I need to get better at public speaking? Like, if you want to be a speaker and speak on stages and you've never spoken on stage before, that's a skill you're going to have to learn. And one of the best ways to do that just happens to be video, because when you talk to a camera for a living, usually it's a lot easier to talk to people than it is to talk to an inanimate object. So my point is that you may want to give yourself the grace and the space to be able to learn the skills that are necessary so that you can achieve the actual goal. Or say, actually, I don't have time or desire to learn that skill. I would much rather hire a person, but you have to know the difference. All right, now we're on number 6. What are your benchmarks? This is an important question to ask, because let's take a look at the entirety of 2024, right? Your first benchmark, let's say you have I'm going to use whole numbers as I often do. Let's say your goal for the year is $250,000, right? Your benchmark for achieving $250,000 cannot come on December 31st when you've made $250,000. Like, that cannot be the benchmark. You have to have evidence along the way that is going to allow for you to know that you are headed in the right direction. Because I don't want you to get to September and you've made $0, or let's say you've made a little bit. Let's say by September you have made $45,000 in your business. Now, it's not impossible to go from $45,000 to $250,000 in the span of 3 or 4 months, but it is improbable. And you don't want to set yourself up for this stressful Q4 because you didn't do what you needed to do in Q1, 2, 3, right? So this is what I'm saying. Have benchmarks. If the goal is 250,000, my benchmarks are also not linear, by the way. Like, I don't have like linear benchmarks. So let's say my goal for a year is $1 million. I don't go, okay, and by the middle of June, I want to make $500,000. No, I look at what I plan to launch. I look at what I plan to open up. I look at what my business is doing. I look at Facebook ads that I plan to deploy. And then Q1 might be, relatively slow. We might go, $120,000 in Q1, which is probably what it's going to be. Roughly 120, 125, I think is what I'm anticipating for Q, maybe a little bit more than that. Let's say 150. Right. But that's not a quarter of what the actual goal is. That's a small portion, but I know that later down the road, I have other things. But I will also say this, I've been running this business for many, many years. So like this is year 9 of me running my business. So I know the ebb and flow of what my business does. I don't have to go into freak out mode if I don't hit $250,000 by March 31st, because that's the best. Like, I don't have to do that. Like, I know the ebbs and flows of my business. I can plan relatively well. Now, whatever I plan in January, by the way, may not get executed, but it's important that I have a plan. Like, it's important that, because when I say it doesn't get executed, it's not because I'm lazy or procrastinating, or it's because something else better comes along, right? So I'm always open to new ideas, new opportunities, new ways for the business to grow or for revenue to come into my experience. I'm always available for it. But I do have something that I want to do. So I'm open to that or better. So if I don't execute on something, like I said, it's not because I'm lazy. It's not because I somehow got unmotivated. It's simply because something better came along. And I chose to go where the energy goes, because I'm a manifesting generator, and manifesting generators need to just always follow the energy. So there is that. Recognize what your benchmarks are and plot them out. So that way you're not looking at an entire year's worth of goals and then trying to figure out how to accomplish that by the end of Q1. Because this is a trap. And I've said this before, if you've been on, if you're in the mindset membership for sure, but if you've been on any of my other calls, you may have heard me say, a lot of the time people will have a goal, like they'll have a goal for 2024, but they'll be frustrated when they don't achieve the goal by like June 7th. And it's like, if you wanted it by June 7th, then you should have said you wanted it by June 7th, because you said by December 31st. So why are we frustrated that on June 7th it hasn't manifested? Because that tends to put people into a place of doubt or a place of fear that it's not going to happen. And then the motivation dies down. This is why question 1 is, what do you want? And the question about what do you want also includes, when do you want it? Like, what do you want? Give me all the details of it. If you say, I desire to make X amount of dollars by December 30th or December 31st, 2024, then you have to recognize that December 31st hasn't occurred yet. So there's no reason to freak out and try to manically manifest something if on July the 4th you haven't achieved your $250,000 goal that you set for yourself for an entire 12 months. This is why I'm saying have benchmarks, because then you can work in little sprints. I personally like to work in 4 to 6 week sprints. Some people prefer a 12-week sprint. And I definitely create containers around that. Some of you guys are going to be in the container with me, because we're going to do a 4-week sprint in February to make sure that you stay on track. So this is actually really good homework for you before we dive in on February 5th, because you need a container of a sprint. And then that sprint becomes a benchmark. Did I accomplish what I wanted to accomplish during this sprint? If the answer is yes, then you're on track. If the answer is no, then we might have to rework some things, renegotiate, not the goal, but renegotiate how you're showing up for it. There might be some other strategies that we can deploy. So you have to recognize that in the context of what you're asking for. You're asking for something over the course of a year, but can you chunk it down so that you have benchmarks along the way to give you indication that you actually are headed in the right direction? Because that's really important. It's really important to celebrate along the way, and those little benchmarks allow for you to celebrate, number one, but also you don't want to wait until August 17th before you have to course correct an entire year's worth of revenue, entire year's worth of goals, an entire year's worth of impact, because we weren't benchmarking things along the way. Make sense? Okay. Let me know if you have any questions about those, because this is the last one. The last one is, once you have achieved the goal that you have, how will you celebrate? So important. You have to celebrate things. And from what I'm seeing in the chat, because I know all of you personally, every single one of you is a high achieving person. And oftentimes with really high achieving people, we don't celebrate until we have achieved whatever great success we have deemed for ourselves as the apex of our existence. And that is wrong. That is, simply put, that is wrong. You have to celebrate the small things. You have to learn to operate in the celebration. You have to learn to, this is the difference between sort of, being content and being complacent. Like, you're not like, I think a lot of the times people think that celebrating it makes you complacent. You're not complacent, like because there's still more to do, but you are content in the progress that you've made. And that is something that is applaudable. Like you can give yourself a high five. You can take yourself to go get that massage off you. There are many things that you can do along the way that will prove contentment. And the Bible talks about we need to be content. It doesn't mean that we're resting in the dissatisfaction of what we're not able to achieve just yet. We're simply going, this is really good. I'm making some really, really good progress, and I can clap for myself because of that. I can give myself a reward for this, knowing that there's still more along the way. So I like to celebrate every benchmark, not just the end goal. I like to celebrate all the benchmarks. And if you are like me, then I would highly recommend putting benchmarks on your calendar and saying, when I achieve this, this is how I'm going to celebrate. When I achieve this, this is how I'm going to celebrate. And I have had this as a practice since my first year of business. I mean, really, since the first 8 months of my business, because I said to myself that when I hit my first six-figure mark, that I was going to take my mom. You guys know the story. I was going to take my mom to the Philippines, and we were going to fly with the lie flat beds in the airplane, because I refuse to fly to Asia without a lie flat bed. Now, and that was going to be my reward to myself, but also just a thank you to my mom that we were going to travel in style. I was going to surprise her with that, and I did, and it was a wonderful celebration. It is a memory that I created that I will always remember. But I chose that as a benchmark for myself, and it gave me motivation. Really, I was like, no, I got to do it because I'm trying to go. Like, I'm making plans already. So yes to the procrastination on the celebration. Don't procrastinate. And everybody here deserves to celebrate themselves, because you're all doing great work. I mean, I think you should celebrate yourself every day. Like, I woke up today. Yay, me. Like, I did this live stream today. Go, Tracy. Like, celebrate yourself. It doesn't have to be this elaborate celebration. I'm not saying you have to have a PSA or throw a dinner party. I'm saying clap for yourself. And sometimes it's like, even during the day, I feel like I celebrate during the day. Like, I'll be like, oh, I finished writing that email. I'm going to give myself a poppy. And then I get my little poppy out. Do you guys like poppies? I love poppies. And this is my favorite flavor, strawberry lemon. The strawberry lemon poppies. I think this is the first time I've had it, and I think this is my favorite flavor of poppy. For those who don't know, it is a prebiotic soda. So it has apple cider vinegar, it has lemon juice, it's made with stevia, and it has probiotics. So gut health. It's like a healthy soda. Capricorn moon, man, oh man. Listen, I'm a Capricorn Venus in the 10th house. So I truly understand the idea of a Capricorn, like, but because we just want to keep going. We just want to keep, like, the area where you have Capricorn is like, you just want to keep working. You want to keep working. You don't want to celebrate nothing. So I get it. Believe me, Etta, I do. But God is up there celebrating you. People want to celebrate you. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a big, huge thing with a ton of fanfare, but if you can create small celebrations for yourself, I just think that it's such a good idea. Okay, anyway, I'm going to recap those 7 questions, and then we're going to be done. Yes, 30 minutes. Good job, us. Question 1, what's the goal? Question 2, why do you want it? Question 3, what's the plan to achieve it? Question 4, who is supporting you along the way? Question 5, is there a skill you need to learn or a person you need to hire based on the goals that you have? Question 6, what are the benchmarks? And then question 7, how will you celebrate? So there you have it. Let me know if you have any questions. These live streams are fun. I plan to do more of them. I may not send out emails all the time, every single time I do it. So if you're interested, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you can be notified of the live streams. Because I think what I intend to do is just pop in whenever I'm feeling led, which doesn't always have a plan. So that's what I'm saying. I may not always send an email out. I might send a replay out. But if you like the live stream conversation, then hit the subscribe button so that you can be aware. Let me know if there's anything else that you feel like we should live stream on, because these are really fun for us. Anne says Capricorn in the 3rd house. 3rd house, communication. third has communication. I get that. All right. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. I love you all. I want all of your dreams to come true. I want all of the goals that you've set for yourself to be manifested at the end of this year. And we're all going to do it collectively. And on December 31st, we can all celebrate together. So, okay. I will talk to you all soon. If you do want to watch this replay, I think it does take about 24 hours for it to process, and then it'll be up on the channel. But I'll post it to social or something so that everybody knows. You're welcome, Harriet. Bye, Afia. Bye, everybody. See you on the 5th, Christina. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.